These folks, they didn't care whether it affected me or my kids, or we were just, I guess, collateral damage. Farming's in your blood. You do it because you love it. If you make enough money every year to pay your bills, you're doing great. I've been farming pretty much my whole life. I'm 39 now. I raise chickens, we farm. I also drive the school bus. Farming's a hard business to begin with when everything goes right, but when something goes wrong, it's hard to bounce back from that. I graduated high school in '92. I decided to build chicken houses. That was going to be my way to help out with the farm. My mom, I took her down to dialysis and something happened and she never came home. That same winter, Dad had a heart attack. Here you are, 18, 19, all your friends are out partying and having a good time. Right there, you're taking over the farm, taking over a business. You grow up overnight. Everything in Maryland is tied to agriculture, poultry, corn, soybeans, everything. You've got to have everything working together just to make ends meet. You don't have chickens, you can't pay the bills.
In April of 2007, Aaron Fitzsimmons, environmental advisor, policy advisor to Attorney General Douglas Gansler, laid out this strategy to find a defendant to bring a federal Clean Water Action suit against the poultry farming practices on the Eastern Shore. You know, it was just a late night post-event chat session, and we walked away shaking our heads and actually very concerned. The poultry industry probably represents, when you look at all the employment it creates and sustains, it's about 40,000 people.
I was on the school bus and my wife texted me that there was a message on the answer machine that either the Washington Post or the Baltimore Sun or both, they wanted to comment about our pending lawsuit. And somebody had received a complaint about an uncovered pile of manure that's stored outside. So I said, that's got to be a mistake. I'd not heard anything about it.
The waterkeeper individual, Kathy Phillips, who jumped to that conclusion, never bothered to do any research to find out what that pile was. She jumped to a false conclusion, never bothered to check her facts. And then the lawyers came in and never bothered to check the facts either. And it turned out to be biosolids from Ocean City.
Most of the larger municipalities that have their own sewage plants basically have sewage sludge. That has been utilized by farmers for years.
We're pretty much giving it away, you know, for farmers to apply to the field. An uneducated person would have took it as chicken manure possibly. But as a farmer, I knew right away that it wasn't. At first, I thought it wasn't going to be any big deal, that, you know, they'd check it out and it was all done and resolved. And then we found out about, you know, that they were filing a lawsuit against the Hudson family.
What was most surprising was the fact that the Department of Environment cleared the Hudsons of any initial wrongdoing, and yet the lawsuit continued to move forward. I'm not a legal expert by any means, but it seemed to me that if the issue that was raised by the initial lawsuit was disproven, then it would make sense to dismiss the lawsuit.
Sometimes people sue, and in the course of pursuing their case, it becomes apparent on the evidence that their case is without merit. I think that the responsible course of action for any lawyer or any litigant is to acknowledge that fact and to move on.
There was documentation, emails that Kathy Phillips had that once they found out it was Ocean City sludge, then not chicken manure, she wrote emails, how do we spin this now? How do we do it? How do we keep on?
What happened to them was the most egregious thing that I have seen against any chicken grower in my years with Delmarva Poultry Industry Incorporated.
We found that the waterkeepers were looking for a case they could take to court. They knew they wanted to go after Eastern Shore poultry farmers, and they were just looking for a pile of poultry litter to be their test case.
I guess more or less I paid to sue myself because my tax money went to the University of Maryland.
And you really have to wonder what was going through the minds of those who are in charge of the University of Maryland Environmental Law Clinic when they decided that they were going to sue Alan Hudson. The law clinic really should have been helping Alan Hudson defend himself.
I was glad to see when our governor took the position he did to support poultry and to let his feelings be known about the law school's participation in the lawsuit as well.
The governor wrote a letter to the dean of the law school complaining about this misuse of state resources.
What I'm responsible for is this common platform of ours called the state of Maryland and the government of the state of Maryland. And one part of that was the University of Maryland Law Clinic, where I had actually worked as a law student defending people who could not afford representation of their own. And in this case, I think the tables were totally turned, and you had a family farm that couldn't afford endless litigation, and they were being driven into bankruptcy by the fact that the public institution, in this case the university, had limitless resources to continue to pursue a case even when it was shown not to have any merit.
When this case erupted and Alan Hudson family became, a headline, the farm community on this Eastern Shore stepped up to the plate to help him out a great deal.
The support that we got was phenomenal, and it's still, to this day, it's unbelievable how much everybody came together.
We made the decision that we were going to figure out a way to help raise money to pay his legal fees. We had some ideas and started organizing, and had a couple chicken and dumpling dinners and kind of got the ball rolling. It was just amazing the money that came in, and it resulted in enough to pay their bills.
They saw that this could happen in any community. They saw it could happen to any one of their family farms, and it's not something they wanted to see pick up steam.
I don't think they thought we'd fight. I think they thought we'd roll over and say, "Here, what do you want?" And I believe we proved them wrong in that aspect.
The waterkeepers had a bigger objective, and so did the Environmental Law Clinic, which was to sue Purdue.
I had heard of the waterkeepers. They had a poultry summit here in Salisbury. I'm sitting there eating my lunch, and this guy starts talking and starts ranting and raving against the poultry industry.
I want to thank Doug Gansler, one of my heroes. I love this guy. This is the kind of person we want in public life.
As Attorney General, Doug Gansler has been one to talk before he thinks things through. Here's a guy who is running for governor. Environmental groups have a big role to play in the outcome of elections in Maryland.
We're certainly concerned. In fact, we're real concerned if he became governor that we may have a serious issue for the farming industry in the state of Maryland.
Mr. Gansler was not terribly supportive of the chicken industry at the summit. Even more hateful was the presentation by Robert Kennedy, the head of the Waterkeeper Alliance in New York.
Big companies they don't like, and I understand that, but I'm still a small farmer. I'm out here raising chickens. I'm the one that raised them. I know what goes into them, watching them and all that.
The folks that are trying to drive the farming industry off of the Eastern Shore don't have a whole lot of experience on farms or with farmers. We have a history of 25, 30 years worth of farmers and environmentalists working together at the local level through the tributary strategy programs and other conservation projects.
We have a number of environmental groups and citizens groups and businesses and government agencies all working together. The Hudson lawsuit really strained those bonds. You know, people were looking around saying, well, all environmentalists are out to get farmers. And I think it has made the farmers very angry, very resentful, very fearful, because it could be me next.
The thought that a special interest group would choose to litigate to drive an industry off the peninsula was pretty scary.
Where's that aircraft going to fly and look at next time? And how will those in the airplane know what's on the ground is what they think's on the ground? There was just a lot of people looking up every time an airplane flew over or a helicopter flew over, and if it hovered for any amount of time, uh-oh, they're after me now.
I talked to my wife on the phone. My little boy, he called me. He couldn't even talk to me. He said, are they gonna put Daddy in jail? I heard him ask his mommy. Because it's all on the news, they see it everywhere. The little kids, they see you in the courtroom, that's the first thing they think, they're gonna go to jail. News crews were flying around with helicopters, and the kids were at the front door crying. He wrote his decision, we all read his decision, and yeah, he had some pretty strong words for Miss Phillips.
I'm very pleased with the way that the judge found the case to be.
Hopefully the lesson they took from it was the final ruling of the judge. The investigation was bad and the evidence presented was bad.
I've never in my career seen a judge make such serious critiques of lawyers.
I did propose an amendment that would authorize the Board of Public Works to utilize up to $300,000 of payment for legal fees if all of the fundraising did not cover the costs, and that was adopted.
Lawsuit's been over a couple years now, and it's still a struggle every day. I hope everything's behind us and we can move on, but it's hard to get up and go again. I mean, after being pushed back so far, it's hard to get back to where you were. That's a saying I read somewhere. Once in your life, you're gonna need a doctor. Once in your life, you're gonna need a lawyer. But every day, you're gonna need a farmer. You got to eat every day.